The first few episodes of the Ahsoka series is out now. Here's my review of Episode 1, Master and Apprentice. First I'll break down the plot and Easter eggs of the episode, go over my thoughts, positive and negative, and then I'll give my rating of Episode 1 at the end of the video. Let's get straight into it. We start off with the classic Star Wars opening crawl, which combines the colour of the last few episodes of the Clone Wars with a dark red text, and of course, refers back to the Star Wars movies. The opening crawl is accompanied with a Japanese Last Samurai style score, which continues throughout the episode. After the opening crawl, the honouring of Star Wars films is continued, as we open to an extended shot of a New Republic Star Cruiser travelling through space, establishing that the New Republic are the dominant force in the galaxy, as opposed to the opening shots in the original trilogy, where we follow the Empire's Star Destroyers. We pick up from where the Ahsoka episode in The Mandalorian Season 2 ended, with Morgan Elsbeth, who was captured by Ahsoka, now a prisoner on board the New Republic Star Cruiser. The Star Cruiser is approached by a ship using an old Jedi clearance code, and this mysterious ship is allowed aboard the cruiser. Baylan Skoll and his apprentice, Shin, depart their ship, and are met by the New Republic's captain. Baylan and Shin dispatch the captain and his security team, and free Morgan Elsbeth from her prison cell. We then see Ahsoka, who is on the desolate ruins of the planet Arcana. She finds an old Night Sisters temple, and after a rather extended puzzle-solving sequence, she obtains a star map. Now the Night Sisters, for those who don't know, are also known as the Witches of Dathomir. They are the same Zabrak species as Darth Maul, and use dark magic to access the Force. And during the Clone Wars, they were largely wiped out by General Grievous. Star map gathered, Ahsoka is then ambushed by 5 HK-87 assassin droids. Ahsoka makes quick work of the droids, and the last two initiate their self-destruct sequence. Ahsoka flees the temple and contacts Huyang, who is piloting her ship. She boards her ship before the massive blast from the droids reaches her. She joins Huyang in the cockpit and tells him that she has found the star map. Now Huyang is an architect professor droid, who over thousands of years has taught Jedi younglings, including Yoda, Mace Windu and Ahsoka, how to construct their lightsabers. He featured in Season 5 of the Clone Wars animated show, and is voiced by David Tennant.
That is the job of a Jedi Padawan learner, which I am not.
Ahsoka and Huyang are hailed by the New Republic, and they are informed of Morgan's escape. Ahsoka heads to a New Republic fleet and reunites with Hera Syndulla, who has been promoted to a general of the New Republic. Ahsoka and Hera talk about the star map, which once opened should contain a location of Grand Admiral Thrawn and Ezra Bridger. Thrawn and Ezra have been lost since the final events of Star Wars Rebels, when Ezra transported himself and Thrawn into the unknown regions of the galaxy by using Purrgil whales, who are essentially space whales that fly through hyperspace. Ahsoka cannot open the star map, and Hera tells her to contact her old apprentice, as she may know how to open it. Ahsoka reluctantly agrees and heads to Lothal, which is a major planet from Star Wars Rebels, where Thrawn and Ezra were last seen, and where the ghost crew of Hera, Kanan, Ezra, Zeb and Chopper were based for a long time. We see Sabine's mural with the art style taken straight from Rebels. The mural is being presented to the citizens of Lothal in a grand ceremony. Sabine, the artist of the mural, is nowhere to be seen, and the governor sends a scout party to find her. We cut to Sabine, who is listening to some cool kid music and is leaving the city on her speeder bike. She escapes the governor's patrol and arrives at the old communications tower, where she lives with her love cat. She plays a holo recording from Ezra, which he made before transporting Thrawn and himself to the unknown regions. In a holo recording, Ezra talks about his and Sabine's shared upbringing as part of the Ghost Crew. There's a romantic / sibling relationship between the pair, and Ezra says that Sabine is like a sister to him. As we know, in Star Wars, brothers and sisters have been known to cross over the normal sibling boundaries at times. So perhaps This is a cheeky reference to Luke and Leia's rather interesting relationship. We move to Baylan, Shin, and Morgan, who are on the planet Arcana, amongst the ruins of the temple Ahsoka found a Night Sisters star map. Morgan reveals that her ancestors were in fact the Night Sisters, which begs the question, why does she look so different from the White Witch-like Night Sisters? Morgan sends Shin to find Sabine, and we get a glimpse of Marek, the ex-Sith Inquisitor, who works for Morgan as a mercenary. Shin then heads to Lothal in search of Sabine, as is Ahsoka. Ahsoka arrives on Lothal and meets with Sabine and tells her she knows how to find Ezra. Things seem to be awkward between the pair, and we find out that Sabine was Ahsoka's apprentice, but her training, like Ahsoka's, was incomplete. Sabine studies the map, and despite Ahsoka telling her not to, she takes it to her old communications tower. Huyang identifies Baylan's skull from his lightsaber as an ex-Jedi. Huyang helped Baylan construct his lightsaber when he was a youngling, and the droid comments that in the last 500 years, only Baylan constructed a lightsaber in such a way, perhaps teasing that Baylan was always different to other Jedi. As Sabine heads to her communication tower, we see a small probe droid scout her position and report back to Shin. And this scene is very reminiscent of Darth Maul's probe droid scene in Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. Still on her ship, Ahsoka talks to Hera about Sabine's stubbornness and reminisces about leaving the Jedi Order as Anakin's Padawan decades ago. In a communication tower, Sabine manages to open a map, and it reveals a location that is presumably where Thrawn and Ezra are located. Suddenly, Shin's HK assassin droids attack Sabine and take the map from her. She grabs her lightsaber, which was Ezra's old lightsaber, and chases after the HK droids, only to be brought to face off against Shin. Sabine contacts Huyang for backup, and Ahsoka heads to the communication tower to help her. Shin and Sabine fight, and it's clear that Shin is more powerful. Ahsoka rushes to help, but Sabine is impaled by Shin, right below her rib. Sabine swings recklessly at Shin, and Ahsoka, being hot on her heels, forces Baylan's Padawan to flee before finishing off Sabine. Sabine falls to the ground, and we cut to black. The words, "For our friend, Rey," appear on the screen, as Ray Stevenson, who played Baylan, passed away not long after filming for Ahsoka Season 1 concluded. So there we have it, Episode 1 of Ahsoka. So first off, let's rate the episode. Plot scores 8, entertainment value scores an 8, characters and performances, again, 8, visuals 9, sound gets an 8 out of 10, and the ending scores 8. So my overall rating for Episode 1, Master and Apprentice, is 82%. So let's talk about the positives. The characters are really good. Rosario Dawson brings a wise and pensive Ahsoka to life, taking her mannerisms from the Clone Wars and Rebels right into live action. Her quiet but serious persona makes her a stoic lead, deserving of being the titular character. Baylan and Shin are interesting to watch, and will serve as a good counter to Ahsoka and Sabine, as Master and Apprentice. Baylan absolutely towers over Shin and Morgan, looking very physically imposing, and is masterfully calm in his lightsaber fighting. Whilst Shin cuts a power-hungry Sith apprentice, and is also very well cast. Sabine, played by Natasha Liu Bordizzo, and Huyang, voiced by David Tennant, play a more comedic, chirpy role, which complements Dawson's more brooding performance. A major positive for me is that you can tell that there's such passion and thought behind the series, with homages to the originals, prequels, and the animated shows. Dave Filoni's love and knowledge for Star Wars can clearly be seen in every visual detail and his cinematography. However, this thoughtful, almost slow style doesn't serve the dialogue too well. Quite often, the camera sits on a character for 1 or 2 seconds too long, and can make the dialogue feel a bit stiff at times. The actors are almost given too much room to breathe, with every line followed by a 2-second pause before the next. It's not terrible, but it can be a wee bit distracting. It's understandable, as Filoni's strengths lie with visuals and overarching stories, and perhaps not with dialogue. On the visual side, Episode 1 masters the ship scenes. and it really is incredible to see how well Rebels has been brought into live action. The character designs are perfect, with the exception of perhaps Hera, who doesn't quite look right. But without a shadow of doubt, the vibrant colours and impactful lightsaber battles of Ahsoka move it far ahead of Kenobi and Book of Boba Fett's visuals and cinematography, and perhaps even ahead of The Mandalorian. The show has really striking bright colours for the ships, the city of Lothal, and the costumes. So there's a lot of positives for episode 1. But now, on to the negatives. As mentioned, there is too much pondering and pausing, which does slow down the pace of the episode. Another issue I had was that not much actually happened when you consider that the episode is almost 1 hour long. It's very much a setup episode, which is understandable, and hopefully the pace will pick up in episode 2 and beyond. A fear that I heard a few times going into Ahsoka is that the hardcore Star Wars fans would love it, especially Clone Wars and Rebels fans. But casual fans, who perhaps tuned into The Mandalorian and have watched a few films, will feel a bit lost, and may have a completely different view on the show, and may not be able to follow along, as there are so many references, locations and lingering shots that hold a lot of meaning if you've watched Star Wars Rebels, but may hold no value at all if you haven't watched the animated show. So as a Star Wars show for fans like me, who have watched pretty much everything Star Wars has aired over the last few decades, episode 1 of the Ahsoka show gives me a lot of excitement for what's to come. But for some, I feel that it may be a bit difficult to follow along and appreciate everything that's going on. Also, the ending felt like a bit of a forced cliffhanger, which is not entirely the Ahsoka show's fault. Sabine gets stabbed under her rib, which if you ask Qui-Gon Jinn, means she will definitely die. However, if you look at all the Star Wars characters who have survived what should be certain deaths, the tension of this moment is heavily reduced. Darth Maul survived being cut in half and falling into a chasm, Emperor Palpatine survived the Death Star explosion, the Grand Inquisitor survived a similar lightsaber injury, and Reva survived being impaled by a lightsaber twice, and both times she didn't receive any medical assistance afterwards. So Sabine being stabbed by a lightsaber doesn't hold the same worry or weight that it perhaps should. Overall, it's a good start, and there's a lot to look forward to over the next few weeks. If we compare the first episode to recent Star Wars shows, I've rated it higher than the first episode of The Mandalorian Season 3, but lower than the first episode of Mando Season 2 and 1. On the series leaderboard, Ahsoka sits in 10th place, below The Last of Us, Squid Games, and Bad Batch Season 2. Compared to other Star Wars shows, Ahsoka is in 6th place, above Mando Season 3, Kenobi, and the Book of Boba Fett, but below Andor, Mando Season 1 and 2, Bad Batch Season 2, and Tales of the Jedi. It's very early days for the show, so it will be interesting to see how high it can climb at the leaderboard as I review more episodes every week. Anyway, what are your thoughts on episode 1? Do you share my optimism that the show is off to a good start and has the potential to be great, or are you just bored of Star Wars, with such a mixed bag of films and shows over the last few years? And what was your favourite moment of the episode? Let me know in the comments below. If you're new here, then perhaps consider subscribing to Film Club. I'll have the episode 2 breakdown out tomorrow, and I'll be reviewing the following Ahsoka episodes over the next few months. Thank you for watching, and see you again.